Sometimes when you get stoned, things happen. And I think we just experienced one of those. I'm not sure. So, I just want to get on here and talk about music. I love music. I love playing music. I love talking about music. I love talking about God, but that seems to be kind of a subject people don't. They get kind of get a little fidgety about. So I figured I'd stick with music, man. So yeah, I've been doing music since I was 13. 13 is when I started. I got my first guitar of my own at 14, and I'd been teaching myself By 13, I was already teaching myself how to play guitar. My friend Travis Lout gave me a guitar to use, and it was an acoustic. Here, I've got one that's very similar. I'll be right back. It's kind of crazy. I'll tell you about it when I get back. Okay. Sorry about that. I forgot where I put it. I put it behind the couch because I was sitting on the couch playing. And where's my fucking? Okay, yeah. Gotta get situated, especially when you're really stoned. I'm good and high. I'm fresh off the bowl. But so this is the guitar. Well, this isn't the guitar. Very similar to two things. One, this is very similar to the one that I had in college that they had me try out because they had never had a guitar student, so they didn't have a guitar, and so they went and got one for like $60. Very, very similar to this, and they had me try it out. And once I tried it, they're like, "Well, we don't have any other guitar students, so if you want to just check it out and keep it." They said, "Go ahead." So. You see the strings on there, they're nylon, right? They're not. The top two are wound in steel, but the top three, the high three are plastic. See, nylon. This is not designed to hold metal strings, but Travis, being Travis, went ahead and strung it with thick, heavy ass fucking strings. They're so thick that it never cut my fingers. Even though they were like old and not, they hadn't been cleaned in forever, but they were huge. They were thick. It was so much stress on the neck that it cracked right here. So Travis just took a nail and drove it into there. And this is before he gave it to me. So he gives it to me, and it's like I'm cherishing this thing because it's the only thing I have. In my first week, I wrote 11 songs, and I didn't have to steal time off my brothers. I had this to just, I could just. You know what I mean? I started figuring out which songs sounded good, and then start adding. You know, I could just hours and hours, and there's nothing they could say to me about it. And so I did. I mean, I just played forever, and then eventually I went by this pawn shop downtown Shreveport. I can't remember the name of it. I used to love going there, especially during the summertime when it'd be really hot. I'd be skating downtown, and because the prices weren't bad, I could go in and actually afford things sometimes. I love pawn shops, man, and. Between selling stuff when I need money and buying stuff when I needed gear for an inexpensive price, because usually someone lost out on something, and that sucks. But I had a lot more compassion before I lost several things to a pawn shop, and then I'm like, but yeah, so on my 14th birthday, I had already put a little bit of money on it. My mom agreed to put if I paid half, she'd pay half. It was like, I think it was $150 for the guitar and the amp. It was actually a name brand Kramer. It was a Kramer Soloist. It only had one. It was this cock rock red, you know what I mean? And it had like one pickup that was tilted a little bit near the bass and near the bridge. So it only had one pickup in it, and there was a humbucker, so it didn't have any treble. I mean any knobs or anything. It just had the one volume. That's all it had. Very, very simple. But I only had that one acoustic. And Travis comes over one time, he's hanging out in the band room with me. And he's like, he takes it and he sees it, and he's like, look at this piece of shit, and just takes it and just bashes it into the floor and cracks it. I mean, it's his guitar. I couldn't stop him. I was just like, my only source of acoustic, but it is yours. So if you want to go rock and roll on it and bash into the floor, that is technically you're right, but that's the first thing I ever learned to play on, man. Moment of silence for the fallen guitar. So that was just gonna say was weird is that so I read the Bible and stuff, and I was catching up on some stuff I hadn't read in a while, because I've read it a couple of times all the way through, and you know I know it pretty well. Probably not as good as I should. But I know it pretty well. So I was when times of trouble happen, I tend to lean on it for some guidance and wisdom and stuff. And so I happened to be reading it one time, and I was like, yeah, I just don't know what's going on. I mean, this world's going crazy. Can you kind of give me a sign of what's going on? And I just opened up the book to, I don't remember which part it was, but it was basically, I think it was one of the prophets. And they were saying that within 1 year, the false prophet will be dead. And that was last April. So this April, basically, if it's correct, and then it said within 2 years, everything you've lost will be returned to you. And it's already started, because, like I said, this is almost the exact model I had in college, which was the exact same thing that Travis had giving me my first guitar. And here I've got this. I got this for like $15. Now the frets on the side or I don't feel them anymore. I kind of feel them now, but they were rough as hell. And I mean, they would cut my hands. And like this thing like demanded blood, dude. It cut my fingers all up right here. So that came back to me. The pink guitar that got taken, and I found another one on Shop Goodwill for fucking $9 and $20 shipping. The first one was like $50. This one was $29. So yeah, I got more drums for my drum kit. They were very cheap. This mixing board here. I used to have this mixing board way back in the day. Way back in the day. There's a review. I did a review of it and everything, but I didn't have the expansion in the back that would turn it into a 16 in, 16 out recording station. This board has that. The reason why is because since then, this board runs on Windows 7 and maybe Windows 8. It definitely does not run on Win 10. So, this and my Phonic Firefly, I have the little Phonic Firefly audio interface, are working. They're fully functional, great pieces of machinery, of gear. High end, high tech. This thing is built, this mixing board is built like a fucking tank. It is amazing. I love this thing so much. It's so cool. Back in the day, it was too much. With just the Firefly, it was way too much mixing board because it only had like 3 inputs. And this has got like a multi-out for 8 outputs. I need a thing like I've got now. Now I've got 8 inputs. So what do? I route those 8 outputs to the 8 inputs, and then I just patch anything that goes in this board. I don't have to only wire it to just, like channel 1's going to 1, channel 2 is going to 2, channel 3 is going to... No, whatever I plug in, I can go through the multi-out and just tell it whichever send I want to, and then just crank how much is going out to that send. And I'm fucking done, man. It's amazing. It's so fucking cool. And as long as I can remember which one was routed to where, I've even got this pedal. This is a, fuck, let me unattach this. This bass pedal is now is now attached in there. It's a direct box. And it's powered by, it has a battery power. I do have a direct box that's powered by DI. I was going to say direct injection, which is what it is, but by DI 48. Whatever, but this is a really nice bass. I've got a dry track that goes from the bass or the guitar or whatever into the board. That routes directly for me to hear. I can hear it, or I actually don't have it going to the board. I can mute it going to the board. I can then send that out to the direct box, which then would split it to my pod, and then also I have a tube preamp over here. That also, I have an output that goes out dry to this. So technically, I can have my guitar go to the dry track from the pod farm while I'm monitoring it with an amp, but it'll go to the computer dry. Goes to the preamp, the mic preamp. It's actually got 2 preamps in there, and I can change the tube to be whatever kind of tube I want, whatever kind of 12AX vacuum tube I want. Marshall, Mesa, Behringer, whatever I want it to be, man. Just to give it some tube characteristic, I just leave it with the Behringer because it works and lasts and stuff. I tried a soft tech. It sounded so good and so clean, but it blew out pretty quickly, unfortunately. So I went back to the Behringer. But I'm always tempted to try. It's really easy to swap it out. So I'm tempted to try some other ones. So that can route back in dry to the interface. So I can get those 2 dry tracks. I can also route out dry separately, completely separately, dry to this, which then goes to another channel on here, or it goes out back into here to the interface. It's so fucking crazy now because this thing has when I direct track my bass, We're talking music. Fuck it, let's talk music. I'm just playing bass. I tend to monitor through my pod. I have Pod Farm Platinum, and because I have that, I have all the amps and stuff. They work with Pod XT. That's why I got the Pod XT Pro. It works together and has all these bass amps and all these extra amps that load into this. So now it's got all these bass amps and stuff built into this. So I go to play bass. I just switched to I think it's number 4. There's a bank of 5 amps, and then I got 4. There's the ones like a rock kind of bass amp, but that I've got like very generic tones to get me through the performance. I just need to hear the bass in a kind of general vicinity of what I'm shooting for. Kind of a funky sound, kind of a thin sound, kind of a more of a metal, kind of whatever I'm going for. I have like 5 of them to limp me through the performance and get me like something that's in the ballpark, so I can get the feel as the song's playing. Because it's all dry tracked. Another thing I can do is run it out to this. If I don't want to use any of the sounds in there, I can monitor this and listen to it through the mixing board. This has the drive, so I can adjust like how much gain it has. It has treble, has bass, it has the level, so the volume. It has a presence, so you can adjust like if the bass is too boom, 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 or if you want it to be a very rumbly, boom, boom. I've learned that. Sorry, I get excitable when I'm very happy about stuff, and I really love music. I've learned that, especially with bass, it's really cool to break the bass. Take the same track. It's the same track, and you make duplicate copies, like 1 or 2 duplicate copies of it. That is usually dry, and/or it's been run through, like I said, the preamp, the bass, the 2 preamp. But on the low end, I try to keep that as dry as possible. The boom, 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 the real fundamentals of the bass. So I've got a whole track that basically I mute everything on the frequency above the bass area. And the next track, I mute everything that's below the mid area and above the mid area. And then on the last track, I mute everything below the high area. So now I'm processing the same bass track, the same signal, the same sound, but each track has, like the mids can be controlled at their own volume, compressed in their own way, because like the mids need a different compression than the bass, the lower bass. The highs need their own compression, a different kind of compression. So instead of trying to find one that matches all of them, you make 3 different tracks. On top of that, with that on track 2, because on the mid section, you can run that through like an amp simulator, like on my computer. I have lots of bass amp simulators and stuff, so I can run that through an actual bass amp. So it'll sound genuine. Like the boom, 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 boom is a direct inject. In other words, this right here, and/or no effects on it whatsoever. It's just completely just the instrument, no amps or nothing. It's just the bass plugged into the interface, basically. And then you affect that to make it a very, very, very clean low end. Then the mid range, you kind of separate that, so that way, especially right there in the body section. So the bass is still right here in the center. The mids are a bit wider. You don't want them too wide, but a bit wider here. Give room so in case the vocals are in there. And then the highs are still, again, focused here more in the center. And that way your bass is kind of doing a body right there in the center. Then you have the guitars on the outside of that. You have the vocals kind of sitting up here in the center. And then you have like the snare drum. You want a little bit off center, either over here or over here, just a little bit off center. Make sure there's room for the vocals right dead up center. Unless you're planning on putting the vocals hard left, like Jimmy would do, or you're doing something artistic. When you start doing that, then like screw all the rules and just do whatever the fuck you feel like. Have the toms over here, the kick drum over here, the cymbals. You do whatever the fuck you want to when you're getting artistic. But if you're trying to get like that typical sound, yeah. And trust me, I thoroughly encourage artistic creativeness. In case I didn't come through, I thoroughly encourage artistic creativeness to do all the things that they tell you you're not supposed to. Especially the things they tell you you're not supposed to, like, oh yeah, you're not supposed to turn that knob. Fucking do it. That's how the pull tech trick got learned, because the manual says do not do boost and cut at the same time. And it's a piece of equipment. It's expensive. My eyes are dry. It's an expensive piece of equipment, so no one wanted to blow it. And I'm guessing one of the people that had one maybe also worked on them. Like, I wonder why you can't. I don't know, just don't do it. I'm gonna do it. Dude, if you do it, it could blow it. I know how to fix it. Do you really? Yeah, I do know how to fix this. I know how to fix these. If you can fix it, go ahead and see what happens. And they do it, and turns out it's actually fucking dope. And now it's called the pull tech trick, where you boost and cut at the same time. It causes this weird frequency anomalies that like are just pleasing. It's like you're boosting what you're subtracting. You're subtracting what you're boosting. And for some reason that weird conflict causes a pleasant sound in lots of situations. Sometimes you gotta fine tune it a little bit, but yeah. It's a lot of times doing the wrong thing sounds right. Now sometimes you need the right place to do it. Other times, like I said, the pull tech trick, it kind of works, I won't say universally, but it works pretty well. So, God mouth, jeez. Yeah. So, when it comes to like actually mixing, I guess after the song is written and it's structured out and you have the good orchestration of how the song's actually going to go and you feel confident in it. Pardon me, my throat kind of does that. You feel confident enough that you're ready to record it. You're either out of the pre-production phase or you're out of the writing phase where you're like, okay, it's ready. I'm ready to lay this down. We're ready to lay this down. I know my parts well enough now. And let's just get serious about this. And again, I with digital, I recommend pre-production the shit out of your music first. Why not? I'm not saying take all the life out of it and all the joy, but at least know where everything's going to go. Know it well. If you're a drummer and you know how the song is going to go, you can go nuts, man. You can really go nuts because you know how the song is going to go. So do what you got to do. Just hit your marks. As long as you hit your marks, everyone's just going to think you're a genius. You know what I mean? Same with guitar, same with bass, same with everything. If you hit the marks together, showing that you guys know exactly how the song goes, we were just taking you on a fucking trip. That's what we do. That's our job. You're not supposed to know where we're going, right? It's supposed to be something new, or at least something interesting. I get that playing guitar is nothing new. Writing songs is nothing new. But there's a chance to put together a melody that people either haven't heard or still enjoy, even though it's a little bit kind of familiar. You know? So once we've got the orchestration down, I think you've got all the recording, everything's been recorded, you're happy with all the recordings, the recordings all sound good, you've checked them in solo mode. People say don't do it in solo. I say do it in solo to make sure that what you recorded down is what you wanted to. We can craft and we can cut out frequencies. Like if you put too much bass in there, we can cut it out. We can do a low pass or a high pass and cut out below fucking 150 hertz and it won't have as much rumble anymore. We can tone and shape it. Is it always the best? No, it's probably best to actually go ahead and record it how it's going to sound best and as close to as best as it's going to sound in the mix. So you want to do as little at the mixing process as possible. A few EQ cuts, as little compression, all that stuff as possible. Preferably the band knows how the song goes, they know how the emotion swells, and they use volume pedals, and the drummer uses dynamics to bring the song up. take it down, bring it up, really excited, bring it back down a little bit, and then they know how to orchestrate to end it out, whatever. Or they take direction from someone who does know how to orchestrate a little bit better. It's not formula like formulaic, but there is when each song has a peak performance of the notes. They just do. Now, whether or not the band comes in with that or not, that's not necessarily how it goes on the record. Sometimes they play a part too long, and then a producer goes, cut that second verse. When you know how you guys do it 2 times? Yeah, only do it 1. Well, I really need those lyrics. Okay, then take the first half of the first lyrics, or just use the second verse. Well, no, we need okay, then use the first half of the first verse's lyrics, and then the second half of the second verse's lyrics. I'm telling you, dude, cut that shit out, dude. No, it's not. It really isn't. But no one's gonna. By the time you get there, I'm telling you, as a listener, people are gonna be bored. They're not gonna care about you, how poignant your story. I mean, they'd rather hear, like I said, a condensed soup version of your words and put it together in their own mind of what you meant, than to actually hear that much stuff and get everything exactly right. A little mystery never fucking hurt anybody, man. It adds to the mystique of it. Some people then start talking about it. When you start people talking about it, people start going, well, I don't know. I don't think that's what it's about. What are you guys talking about? Have you heard that new song by blah, blah, blah? No. Listen. Oh, fuck, that's a good line. What do you think he's talking about? Well, I don't know. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, now you've got a discussion going on about what you meant. And then people get to find out what you meant, during a press conference, if you feel like breaking their fucking spirits. I say it's open for interpretation. Whatever you believe out of my lyrics, that's what it means. Take it. Sure, I don't care. However you want to take it. Whatever you want to take. If you want to take them a jackass, take them and take it. You probably already thought that anyways. So go ahead. I hate the winter. I get so dry. Yeah. I had a song called Even Wind. Me and Matt Hopper, we played as Zygote. And it's about time. The whole song is about time. And it starts out, if I can't take your breath away, I'll stare you down, I'll wear you out. And you'll fall for me like any wall. Know that it's just a matter of time. It's right there. Know that it's just a matter of time. And my ex-wife walks in and is like, I really think that song's kind of cocky. And I'm like, what? I mean, it's just kind of, you'll fall for me like anyone. I'm like, no, like any wall. Oh, yeah, instead of telling me what I think, why don't you ask me? I'm like, right here. What do you say right there? Yeah, I thought you were. You conceited fuck. Anyone, and you'll fall for me like anyone. Yeah, I knew you were a conceited bastard. But no, you just took the road that I am a conceited bastard. Just like there's a one that's like, the song goes, it never gets any easier, and days all run together, hand in hand with eternity, whatever that's worth. But like the main thing is like, it's called Something for You. It's like, and here's something for you. Here's something for you, for whom I never do anything. The song is about how it never, even though time forever has to be so big that eventually, just like between 0 and 1, you have to get to 1. But the thing is, there's another between 1 and 2. There's another forever. Oh, and there's another forever between 2 and 3. Oh, look, and there's another forever between 4. And that keeps going forever until eventually it's so fucking full of just like all the craziest shit. The universe is so fucking full of anything that could possibly be that the only thing left to do is to fucking forget and start it all over again. From the very, 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 very beginning. It just keeps going and going and going and going and going until the entirety of the universe is, and multiverses and any other side verses, the universe is full. Because the universe has to, the multiverse has to exist somewhere. That exists inside of a universe. One whole, it only makes sense that one universe holds all those multiverses, uniting them as one of a multiverse. What if all like the black holes, they're not turned on really, but they're there. And then all the realities that are not correct in the multiverse, so there's like a connect the dots, like a lightning line through is the fastest line through to get through for whatever this has all been about. Through multiple dimensions and different areas is the fastest way, kind of like, the infinite probability device, qubit thinking, and then it shoots back over here and then gets finally over here. You know what I mean? After doing tons of weird, crazy stuff, but that's the fastest route. And so all the multiverses are filled up in here as it bounces through, multi-space this way, and time, both forward and backwards. And that's the fastest way to get from here to there. This big Jeremy Bearimy loop that's just going every fucking where, doing those crazy shit, you know what I mean? Through all kinds of different infinite probabilities and crazy qubit thinking and all kinds of other shit. Fastest way. Once you make it to the other side, all the black holes and all the other universes that are not connected to the ones that made it through, turn on and erase all those other universes. You don't know. And they were talking about how Einstein predicted black holes before they were found. It's actually pretty easy if you consider Newton's third law of motion, which I was erroneously calling second law of thermodynamics because I'm stupid and I had to look up to make sure I was telling the truth and I was telling the wrong thing. Newton's third law is for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. I believe it's his third law. It was Newton, and there's his laws of motion. So, if that's to be true, if we have items in our universe that give off light, we must have items in our universe that suck in light. Then it's just a matter of figuring out how would you go about pulling in light? How would light? Okay, there must be like a serious amount of gravity or something, that's just pulling it in. Now, what if this is, like I said, if there is an inverse opposite of our universe, on their side, it's a star. And all of our stars are inverted to be black holes. If you were to go through a black hole, you come out the center of a star, it is a transport to the other dimension, the inverse dimension. And you come out in the center of a fucking star over there. That would suck. Yeah? You're like, oh, we're going to travel time. We're going to find out what's on the other side of this black hole. We're going to actually go through the black hole and find out what we're going to finally find out. Is this a wormhole? What is this? Oh, no. What? We're apparently inside of the sun. You mean we got 2 seconds. I can't explain it. Oh, we're inside of the sun. Black hole. Okay. We shouldn't have done this. Why did we go at light speed? Because we wanted to get through. That's right. We wanted to make sure we got through all the way. Man, there's just so much crazy shit to the universe, the world, and again, it's all frequencies and vibrations and energy and every bit of it. Music is nothing more than the playing with vibrations. Even virtual vibrations on MIDI keyboards and stuff. Those are synthesized versions of, which is just some strings going over a hole. And those are vibrating, causing that noise when you tune them up to the right frequency of vibration. It's crazy. You can make people think and feel. You can make people like cry. I can't, but I mean, people that are talented enough can do it. You know what I mean? Bring people to their feet and cheer. You know what I mean? It's nuts. You can also get people going, throwing tomatoes at. Who the fuck brings tomatoes to a show? What was the point of that, Gonzo? Huh? You fucking weirdo. You're fucking a chicken. We all know you're fucking Camilla, man. You guys aren't just friends. Nobody's just friends with a chicken like that, man. Come on, not with the nose like that long. Gonzo is right, dude. You done took too many drugs and your shit is gonzo. First you wanted to fuck the pig. Like, screw it, this chicken won't say nothing. It's wrong. You named it Camilla. That's just wrong. That's just, you should have known something was wrong with them when that came up. You know what I love about the Muppet Show? I love simple shit, but you know what I love about the Muppet Show? The hecklers. The hecklers. God bless them. They were there every week. They did not miss a week. They were there to shit on that show. And that was their whole purpose for being. And they were there every week with new, fresh taunts about how bad this show is. And they would just laugh, and we would laugh too. Even as they're making fun of the show that we like. Because you gotta admit they're funny. I like the Smothers Brothers. So fucking sue me. I like Gallagher. Fucking sue me. George Carlin, of course. Dude, come on. Yeah. I like people that start shit. Righteously. I don't like people that just start shit just to start shit. But like it's like, but why can't I have my toe on this line? Because I'm doing it. So, okay, but on this side of the line, I'm fine. If I go over the line, you're going to shoot me? So, like, what if I were hovering? What if I just hover over here? Just don't cross? Okay, I won't cross. I'll just step. Oh, I hear you. Don't put my foot even on the... I'm not. You see, I'm over it. And we slide it back a few inches, and I am not touching your line, sir. But I am stretched wide out like Dennis in that episode of Home Improvement on Always Sunny. I got a wide stance on this boy. These jean shorts let me stretch way out. Shit. So when it comes to mixing, I tend to, I won't say, follow any pattern or anything like that, but it does help to have things kind of in a set so that you can kind of move a little bit faster. And So yeah, the hecklers, man, they were incredible. What a brilliant thing to do, heckle your own shows. That way, you know what I mean? There's no room to. What's the worst you can say about my show that I haven't already said about it already? Plus, I made it funny. So yeah, Now, he is a handy dandy Mr. Ebo. Let's see if I can pull up Gearbox. I don't know if I've got that installed here. Because Gearbox will let me, yeah, if it's here. You know what? I'm going to try something real quick. I'm going to see if I can pull up amplitude. Because if I can, let's go ahead and mute this. If I got enough power to run amplitude, I can show you guys some pretty interesting shit, like how you can model so many different amps. I'm down for that. Well, Cosmo says you're fat. Well, baby, I ain't down with that. You ain't. That's your claim to fame, though. You know, it's just butts. Butts and butts and butts and butts. Let's go ahead and go to the channel here. Turn that camera off there. Turn this camera on here. And I don't think you really need to see the routing configuration as long as you can see that up there. Yeah, so you can see my ugly mug down there. Let me pull up the tuner. If it's got the access, yep, right there. Power. That's an A, baby. There you go. I'm gonna hit that high note. I really hope this is an accurate tuner. Okay, so that is not coming through. Man, I was hoping that was coming through. I know T-Rex did. Oh well. Let's close that out. No, we don't want to say that. What about, I've got another one, amp locker. It's a good sounding amp, but I don't know how that's working. I'm going to see what the routing for T-Rex is, why it was working. Because that one's actually working. And I'll check the settings and find out why it's working. And from that, I might be able to figure out why the other ones won't work. And maybe I can pull up some BFD. That would be the shizzles, the bizzles of a fizzle of a crizzle. Way too big. Cheer up, Charlie. Cheer up, Charlie. Anyone? Bueller? Cheer up, Charlie. File. Audio. Import audio. Project settings. Audio settings. Let's go to audio. Project settings. You are at wave 16-bit off. So, okay. And then for audio settings, you have Windows audio. Ah, that's why. Windows audio, you weren't doing ASIO. Well, that would explain it, wouldn't it? Let me see if I can get BFD to do the same. Because if so, I want to play some drums. Oh, man. Did you hear that? Hey, did you hear that? I always wonder what's going to happen when that thing finally just like cracks all the way. Am I going to cry? I'm going to probably cry. God. I did when he cracked my neck, man. The first time I got my neck cracked, I started to cry. Just one tear fell down my face. I wanted to hug him so bad. I think it's gonna be weird. You don't think it's gonna be weird? It's gonna be weird. Do you not think it's gonna be weird? Okay, man, it's gonna be weird. Okay, couldn't open perhaps another user using it. Yeah, that's probably why. So can't you do that? Studio ads, yeah. And those are the only choices I have. And although it plays, it just won't play out to this system. Oh, it sounds so good too. Oh well, I'll have to find some other way to do that. But in the meantime, I'm wise to the demise. But in the meantime, I'm wise to the demise. Yes, yes, y'all. Hit the rock nevertheless, y'all. Believe me, what you see is what you get, and you see me. You're going off as you can bet. Always use the tuner that you intonated your guitar with, I guess, is the lesson today. So when I go to mix my music, my tendency to go to is I will start with the drums. Well, technically I'll start with the actual recording. I want to do as little in the box as possible So I'd rather have as much of the volume fading in and out and all that stuff controlled by the band that knows how the song is going to breathe, when it's going to go up, when it's going to go down. Even if you send me the MIDI information, like I actually kind of came in a little bit early, I can just adjust that. That's no problem. So that's what I love about MIDI foot pedals. And he's like, you see where the stomp is? Like, yeah, that's where the stomp pedal should come in. I'm like, how about we just roll the volume up to a distortion instead? Sure, let's give it a try and find out. Yeah, see how smooth it sounds? It doesn't just jump in. It kind of like, instead of going just, it's just, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Yeah, it's more artsy, and the song's more artistic. In a punk song, yes, you want it to be that jaggedy kind of punch you in the face, just out of nowhere. But when you're doing more artsy kind of stuff, you want it to blend and flow kind of smoothly. And yeah, there's no. I mean, the volume pedal helps with the dynamics so much that I really wouldn't. I can't recommend it enough to any musician. Whatever instrument you're on, learn how to bring your volume of your instrument so that way you're not just joining the band. Like the band's already in session, you can start playing a little bit and bring the volume in. So you slowly kind of gradually fade in. Even it's like dun, 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 they get used to hearing. It's not just bam. Here's where the fuck did you come from? You're not the people that we've been listening to. Just kind of explode in here, So sometimes you want. Again, there's an exception to every rule, but for me, generally speaking, it seems there's several rules that I've found that are, I won't say dead set in stone or anything like that by any means, but they are definitely kind of true. Just kind of like when you're descending on a minor scale, you want to flat the seventh, and that's just the way it is. If you're ascending and you flat the seventh, it's not going to sound right the same way as when you're descending. When you're descending, it sounds right, but when you flat it on the way down, it sounds right. When you keep it regular on the way up, it sounds right. In that same way, drum beats can slash in half or even whatever as much as they want to. Going faster, you need to warn the audience a little bit and take them with you. Even if it's like a you know what I mean, to let them know that it's going faster. Something da 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 doom ba da ba da. It's like doom ba doom doom ba doom ba 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 doom ba ba doom ba. Whereas a doom ba doom ba ba doom ba. It just doesn't feel as good. You need some kind of little. You can do it. Again, there's an exception to every rule, so it can be done. Generally speaking, like the guitars will give some kind of warning or something like that for the audience to cue off to know that it's about to jump up and go up. When you grab them slow and slow down, they're just kind of like ho 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 ho. They can just follow that easily because you're already going. And that still fits. You know what I mean? Like if you're bouncing around and all of a sudden it just drops. Like, oh, you can just fall into that very easily. So that people don't have any problem with that. But when it doubles in speed, it's kind of like. What? It can be done. There's popular songs out there that have it, and I always feel the same thing when they do it. I'm like, you should have gave it just a bit, just a little bit of warning. Just a little explosion. You know what I mean? To let the audience know something's about to fucking pop off. So I start with drums usually. After I'll record down. I'll try and get in the words of Joe Gilder, get it right at the source. Tracking down, I try to have the bass not interfering with the guitar range, having a good, nice sound that, like I said, I can split into three and really sculpt with. So the high end's in there, the low end's in there, and the mid range is in there, and then the main one track going in. On the guitars, I usually dial up a song on the pod, like a sound on the pod, and then use the dry track out. So that way that you can listen to whatever amp. You know what I mean? I want to dial in the Marshall. Cool. Dial in the Marshall sound that you like. Yeah, this is the perfect sound. Sure. Sure it is. And they're playing along and like, hey, what happened to the Marshall sound? I'm like, hang on. And then you look like an amp sim and it's like, it's way better than the pod sound did. And it's like, oh shit. And like, yeah. Yeah. Oh, on top of that, we can just take that, double it up again. And we'll run that through a plexi so it doesn't have quite as much distortion. So when you go into the crunch section, listen to this. Holy shit. Like, yeah, it's not even near as much like distortion. If you actually listen to two, nowhere near as much distortion, but it's just because those two together, the plexi is handling more of the lower end, whereas the 800 is handling more of the cutting. And the other one, it's the same riff again, just going through two different amps. It sounds like a wall because you pan one like right here, the one set like here, the other one set wide. So when this one's in, you can hear, or like actually when this one's out, like you hear the vocals. When this one comes in, it's like the chorus, and so it's like it's this big wall of sound coming at you. It's fucking cool, man. It's really cool what you can do with music, and with sounds and all this stuff. I really love it. I love it like insanely. So I'm constantly learning shit, and like I was learning here recently about compression. I'm finally getting to a point where I'm comfortable with where I understand what's going on there. So the next step was to try and understand transients. I just couldn't get, I couldn't even get I couldn't even comprehend really what a transient was. They would say it, like the beginning part, the end part. I'm like, okay, but I mean, I just didn't quite get it. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to grab the front end of the wave and make that louder, also make the tail sustain. I mean, I get it, but I just don't get why and what's going on. I guess 'cause I was looking more at it as a guitar. And while it does work on guitars and stuff like that, probably especially for adding more bite and you probably need a transient on the front to really grab that first note. For me, the only thing that's been frustrating about BFD, because it has all those drum packs. I mean, I have hundreds and hundreds of just snares and hundreds of kicks, and it's just insane. And I can check them and try them in real time while the song is playing. I've already recorded the performance. Like I said, I used this drum machine here to give me a sound that works, that I can listen to and drum along to the song with. I'm not expecting it to sound great. I just want it to sound like a hi-hat, a kick drum, a snare, and some toms. However many toms I'm going to be playing in this song. That's all I really want it to sound like. So I can lay this performance down. I want to nail the performance down as close to quantized, tight as fuck by myself, without any computer assistance as possible. If I have to tighten up a little bit, I will, but I'm getting more and more where I don't need to. And if I do, I'm going to like 30-second notes and stuff like that, which is pretty good, because it used to be like 16th notes, because I was that fucking sloppy. But I'm already down to 30-second notes. So while that performance I already played is playing back, then I come back in and I swap out, while the guitars are playing, I've already picked up the guitar sound, the bass sound. What's going to be a good kick drum sound to go along with this? No. Let me think. Okay, it's going to need like more of like a Black Sabbath-y kind of fucking kick. I start thinking what packs I have to go along with that kind of sound. What other songs do I have that have like a slappier than a punchier? Because, this one's got like a lot of bass and the guitar's a lot of, you know what I mean? So what am I going to do? Well, I need more of a metal kind of, flappy kind of sounding, like the Vinnie Paul kind of. You can hear the just as much as you can hear the tum, 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 if not more. And that way the bass can just be doom, 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 and the kick drum is not fucking with it, but you can still hear that. But I've learned how to dial in the one thing I didn't like about BFD, because they just, to me, I thought the snares just had that pop sound by themselves, the pow, you know what I mean? Because some of them do. Some of them have a bit of a ring or a bit more of a snap to it. And what they do is just, BFD will always be the best drum program at least for now. I don't know if anyone will copy their style, but because they give you the raw drum files, yes, it is going through very, very nice microphones, like $4,000 room microphones. The ones on the actual drums are like the best that you can get in the studio. It's in the studio. That's one of the best studios you can record in. So the room mics are in one of the best rooms ever for recording music, like Abbey Road sometimes Sound City, sometimes, I mean, just depending on where it is, Ocean Way, around the world. So the overhead and room mics are from there. There's an entire kit pack, so you can mix and match like snares and stuff, and it won't sound weird. You don't think it's going to sound weird if they're in a different room? It's going to be weird. Do you don't think it's going to be weird? It's going to be weird. It's not all that weird. You just go dry and you use the room reverb, and they all sound like they're recording in the same room. Really easy solution. But without that, you can just use it in the kits in the pack, in the same pack, because they record in the same room and they sound natural. Even within on the same room, it's pretty natural sounding, anyways. Because I mean, rooms I won't say are the same, but if you swap the room on the snare compared to the room on the kick drum, not too many people are really going to go, "Hey, what the fuck's going on?" Those record in different rooms. Dave Grohl actually recorded with Taylor Hawkins. I think Taylor Hawkins played the cymbals and Dave played the drums, or vice versa. And they were in different rooms because they wanted to have the kick drum in a tight room, I think, or they wanted to have the cymbals in a tight room and the kick in a big, boomy, wide open room. So they were connected by headphones. So Dave's back there just playing the cymbals and hi-hats and shit. And Taylor Hawkins up there playing doom, da doom, doom, da doom, da doom, 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 da doom, doom, da doom, doom, ba doom, doom. And then Dave's ding 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 ding. That's all they're doing in different rooms, and no one minded. Apparently, it's an old trick for, like I said, tightening up one of the two, and making one boxy, the other one roomy, and giving an interesting feel. That's all I'm doing here. Plus, like I said, I can just kill all the overheads. Besides the overhead, just leave the overheads on, kill the room and the ambient mic, and run it through a room reverb, especially a convolution reverb, which actually mimics actually a room. And there's different, I have different studios that have been mimicked. Like I said, with that one reverb that I have. There's Sunset Sound, there's Fame Studio, there's Muscle Shoals. I mean, I've got a bunch of reverbs that are really dope. I have a convolution IR from Waves. It's really dope. So they have like lots of caves and weird shit. That's just, I mean, it's sick. It's really sick. Your whole band sounds like you're performing in a cave. It's nuts. So yeah, but I found out how to get that snap. Because I was actually listening to Easy Drummer, and Easy Drummer, because they're not really worried about getting you your sound. They're getting you a sound that you can drop in, because they're not selling to drummers. They're selling to guitar players. Guitar players really want to focus on drums. They did not. I mean, on guitar. They did not want to spend a lot of time focusing on drums. They don't want to spend much time thinking about it at all. They want to give a rough draft to their drummer to show the drummer basically how the idea goes, and have the drummer do his part and do whatever. They don't really want to work on it. They don't really want to understand what goes into that. They just want to. I'm just being honest, man. Some of them do get in there and want to program some of them shit up, but the majority, the reason why it's called Easy Drummer, is because it's easy. You just kind of tap a beat into the back, and it gives you like a bunch of different files that it has in its own library, and what percentage it matches what you typed in, what you tapped in. You have a doom, da-ba, doom, doom, ba, doom, doom, da-ba, doom, doom, ba. It'll find all the riffs that are similar to that kind of feel, and tell you between 0 and 100% match what you did. And you can bring it in, and you can move the notes around and stuff so it matches what you want it to do. It's pretty weird. I don't really like that part of it, but I mean, to each their own. I can play drums, other people can't. So, and because I can play drums, I'd rather actually record real drums. But since I can't do that, someone recorded real drums in BFD for me. I just have to fucking play them and trigger them, and then I have to mix them inside their mixing board or send it. It can go outboard to my DAW, and I can use all my favorite plugins on my drums as if they were coming in regular, like a regular drum set. It's insane, and because of that, it doesn't have like all the preset things to make like the snare just snap like it does in Mix Ready, where Easy Drummer comes in Mix Ready. You can just drop it on your track and it's ready to go. All the drums have been basically, like if you're doing rock, these kits are designed for rock. If you're doing reggae, these are designed for reggae. All the popular things for reggae, all the presets for reggae, for bass and vocals and stuff. This will cut the mix. Use industry standard on those, and it'll cut the mix. And same with the rock. They have the same thing there. And the snare has that natural. I'm like, see, they got the snares that I like. I can't, and since I found out about transients, I had like a really good snare. I wish I could show you, but it was like a really good snare on this one kit that loads up at startup. It's just like the startup kit that I programmed. I'm like, see, I wish it had like the pop. And then like once I found out how to do it with the transient, I just had to, through the transient designer, I loaded it in there and started tweaking with the snare. And next thing I know, that pop's coming out. I'm like, oh shit. And so I had to go back through all the fucking, and because I had the transient designer. And so when you audition, it runs it through the channel, you got it. I mean, the EQ is not exactly set for that snare, but it's set for like a snare setting, like a snare preset. And so as a transient designer, it's not exactly tuned in to get the complete snap out of it, but I was going through each of the snares. Before that, some of them I had written off. I was like, I can't use that really well because it doesn't have the sound I want. Maybe if I go for like a sound that's a bit more dull, it doesn't have that pop. And each one of them's going snap, snap, pop, pop. Some of them pop, like deeper. I need to be EQ'd more. But like I'm already on the trail to fucking getting that whip kind of wow. You know what I mean? I want that fucking shotgun kind of sound on the snare, man. Sounds so good. But there was like the beginning of Burn It to the Ground. The snare is not too bad as it goes on, but at the first part, especially, the that's hell, I could bring that up now. Fuck it, T-Rax and shit, and just show off a little bit of that there. I'm surprised that T-Rax was even working, seeing how I was working on the audio, not the not the Realtek audio, whatever that fucking type of thing is. So let's go ahead and bring in Burn It to the Ground, the Wave Master. Let's clear this out of here. Let's go ahead, Logitech camera, and that, bam. Okay, so I'm gonna bring the volume down a little bit on that channel. And let me find a stereo compressor. There's a bus compressor. I always use that. Let me go ahead and try it because it works. That's why I use it. The ratio about 4. Attack is fast. Auto release.
Somebody save me.
Vintage compressor. Thresholds. Okay, let's see. So this is one of those. So yeah, like I said, I'll start with the drums, and once I got the drums soloed out, what I'll usually do is I will solo the kick drum, listen to that as it's playing, bring in the snare drum. While those are, I mean, I'll solo the snare drum, make sure it has a good sound, a pleasing sound to it, and then bring in the hi-hat, bring in the ride, balance those out. Bring in the tom aux to make sure the toms aren't overpowering the snare and the kick, and that the tone is right. So so that the tone matches the kick drum, so that it's not like like really trebly toms and really bassy kick drum. Try and keep it round and consistent so they sound like the same kit. You know what I mean? Together, they're together, and then I'll bring in the cymbals. And in BFD, there's usually like a direct mic on all the cymbals, so I make sure the balance of the entire kit sounds good by itself without any room mics at all. It's just like a flat, like a drum kit that just sounds like it doesn't really have the life of being in a room yet. Then in the ambient mix, I go through and I find any unnecessary stuff. I'm starting to like the mono kit. That's really, really nice, actually. I didn't used to like it, but I'm really liking it now. Mainly because what I'll then do is I will mute the tom auxes, the tom bus, and I'll mute all the cymbals, and I'll leave the kit, the hi-hat, the kick, and the snare, so the kick and the snare going, and then I'll bring in the overheads until I get a nice sounding stereo image. It sounds like a regular old drum kit, you know what I mean? Without the actual other drums. So without the other drums, it still sounds like a good, nice mix of the stereo kit and the stereo field. Then, and I do that with all the different. Like there's the overhead, then there's the room, then there's ambient. Sometimes there's some crush. Sometimes there's the mono kit. I bring all those in slowly, one by one, until they match up with the background kit, and they don't overpower it, but they enhance. So that way, when you mute it, you have this feeling like you miss it. I try to do that with all the instruments and all the stuff. It should be loud enough to be heard, but not so loud that it overpowers, but so loud that when you mute it, it's like, oh, where'd that go? That added something to it. You know what I mean? That when you mute it, you should not miss it. Like, I don't miss that. If you don't miss it, then you need to retool that instrument till you miss it, or just say, is that necessary? Because not all mixes are necessary to do. Like, you have a formula for doing stuff. They're not all necessary to do that. Well, I have to record left and right. You don't have to. Like I said, if you mute it and you don't miss it, try doing without it, unless it does something really cool. And if it does something really cool, then try and change it in a way that makes it, when you mute it, your ear misses it. Whether it's a tremolo in time, whether it's a chorus in time, that's kind of some kind of ear candy stuff. It's got a really nice ping pong delay, even though it's in this ear. It goes bank, 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 bunk, 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 bank, 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 bank. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. So it sounds different. Like I said, when you mute it, you miss it being gone. If you're not, then leave it out of the mix. This is especially right now at this stage, you're talking about clarity, making this clear of a mix as possible. So the fewer things you have to mix doesn't make sense. It's easier to mix the things together. I have a song called Quinn Rose. It's just 2 guitars and 2 vocal tracks. Whole song, final song from Geaردma. I might redo it as a whole song someday. I don't really know. I wouldn't mind doing it, so maybe. But yeah. Okay, I'm good in stone, so I'm gonna leave that alone for a bit. So after I set the drums and I get that all set, and I get the background, the overheads, and the room mics all set, and it sounds good, then I'll turn those off, and I'll turn the kick off and let it, and the snare, and let it all play together, and it should sound nice and harmonious. Again, it should sound like they're reinforcing each other, not competing with each other, and not diminishing the mix. If you take anything out, you miss it. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't feel the same anymore. You know what I mean? That's the way it should be. So I get those set. Once I get those set, I bring in the bass. First, I bring in the low bass. And I bring in that low bass until I can hear it with the drums clearly, where it's not overpowering, but you can clearly hear it. Then I bring in the overtime from 0. I start bringing in the mid to sit on top of that to define the bass a bit better and clearer. Once it gets in there where it's not overpowering either one of them, and you can hear it clearly again, it's now separated. So because it's split in the midsection, the drums are sitting right there, aren't they? Your bass is a little bit wider. It's not full on left and right, but it's a little bit wider, giving some space for like the snare, the hi-hat, the ride, toms. It just gives a little bit of room. So it's got bass right down where the kick drum is anyways. Boom, 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 boom. They're together. Where it goes, doom, 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 doom. That's giving a little bit of room. And then the high end is back to the center again. So it's all still kind of, like I said, it kind of shapes a body of the bass. Quite literally. And so after you get all the things set, once I often will mute the drums, and I'll bring in the bass pieces until it sounds complete and whole. Like the bass sounds like one cohesive unit that is clear and understandable. And once I get that, sometimes I'll just like go ahead and, however loud it is, I'll like select all 3 so they'll move in unison at the same, like if it's like, this like kind of configuration. When I move this one by itself, all 3 of them just go in the same amount. So that way I don't have to get down there and go, okay, let's reset the thing. I've already set the level. That sounds good. Now bring in the drums again. Okay, that's too loud. And just bring it down until it sits right, until like, the and they're just sitting right nice with each other. It works out, man. It works out really nicely. The next step I do, it used to be bringing the vocals, but those are like the loudest things. So now I bring this in last because I can always bring this louder. I use a program called RVox. Or RVox from Waves. Renaissance Vocals is what it stands for, and it's an amazing. It's fairly indispensable for what I do for vocals and how I do vocals. It's amazing. It's an amazing plug. I spent a long time because it was expensive, and I needed it. Like I really didn't know what to do without it, because again I didn't know what I was doing. And this was a very simple, like one lever type situation where you just, you move the one knob and it just makes things work. It's not quite that easy, but very, very close. So eventually I got it, and yeah, now my vocals can just do. I mean, it just lives in my vocal box now. So I bring the guitars in, and what I'll do is like I make sure that it's not going through a compressor of any kind. I know a lot of people say to do that. There's two things I don't do. I don't gain stage. Fuck that. You wanna know why? It sums up on the tube bus. It's not clipping anywhere. If you look at your DAW, it's not clipping anywhere there. It's clipping on the tube bus. So drop the gain on the tube bus. If you don't have a gain knob, fucking put on a preamp that has a -20 pad. Slap it on there. I usually drop about -15 at least to get this sound to, because I never have. We're talking about gain staging. I was like, okay, what's this? And like, it's central. You must gain stage because that way I'm like, all I did was turn the gain down on the tube bus, and it gives me the same results instead of having to go through each individual one and gain stage each individual one. That seems rather inefficient to me because it's only clipping on the tube bus. So just gain stage the tube bus, and you just ride the gain on there, or like I said, you have a preamp to 20 decibel pad. It actually gives you a little bit of headroom to add some more characteristic of that preamp back in. Because it just running through is going to give a sound. Like if it's a Neve preamp, I have a couple of Neve preamps. So the 3-pack is like the 84, the 73, 78, and the 84 are all in the modeled in this one thing, this one plug-in. And there's another one, it's like the 3102 or something like that. I don't remember, it's like something like that. And the Blackbird model, it's very nice. It sounds good. It's very modern, very clean. It sounds good, but it's a Neve. And it just has that characteristic of a Neve. It has a really beautiful sound. And so yeah, it's really weird how that will happen. But yeah, I bring in the vocals last. I set those on top with using, like I said, with RVox. So what if the vocals come in, they're not quite loud enough? You can use RVox to add almost like 30 decibels of extra volume to the vocals. It's nuts. So using that is like almost impossible not to be able to sit your vocals like right on top, right out loud, right out front. You can EQ them correctly to get all the extra frequencies out of there, and then you get the volume in from RVox. I'm so stoned. I can't believe I'm able to talk straight, man, dude. It's really going. I can feel myself inside my head going, dude, you need to sign out. You need to sign out, dude. This is how are you still doing this? I don't know. I'm listening to talking, and they're going, what the fuck am I talking? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. What the fuck am I talking about? Oh yeah. But what the fuck was I talking? Okay, yeah, I'm still talking about the same thing, right? Yeah. Okay, it's the vocals. I don't know how it's working, how I'm doing it, but I'll probably be heading out here soon anyways. It's like an hour and 37 minutes. So, yeah, I was hoping to talk to some people about music. I love talking about music. And even if it's just like how to make music and, different stuff to do. But, yeah. So after mixing it like that, I make sure that I've got all the the levels set as best as I can. Make sure that all the frequencies are set, like the vocals I'll solo out the vocalist, find any harsh nasally sounds, any whatever sounds, trim those out, and I'll do a separate EQ to try to clean up the frequency of that frequency to make it sit in the mix well. Then I run that into the RVox compressor, and then that goes into an L2 maximizer. So that way, and sometimes the L2 maximizer just catches the stray like a limiter, but other times it helps to bring in even more volume without any clipping, without any of the other shit. It's a really great plugin. And so kind of inflator, that would set the whole mix. Now, each one of those tracks, the guitar tracks will have a bus for guitars. that has a fine tuning of shaping the sound, of really getting those bassy sounds out. Maybe putting like a room reverb so they sound like they're in the same room together, and maybe even panning them left and right so that like this guitar, its reverb is over here, and this guitar, its reverb is over here, and so it's not like both of them are in stereo, but it's like this guitar is playing and the reverb is decaying over here. So it's like it's shooting this way, and this one's shooting this way in the same kind of reverb field. So it sounds like they're in the same room, crossing each other, aim this way like you would be in a concert. There's weird stuff you can do to psychoacoustic fuck with people's heads, man. Make it sound like you're actually, there. Because the reverb would be decaying behind you, right? Yeah. So you same kind of principle. It's decaying on your left side with a bit of delay. With that bit of delay, it makes it feel like it's a little bit further back. See, it's starting to delay. Get back over here. The sound, see how the sound sounds farther away? And so it's basically what you're doing with the reverb. You just increase the delay of the reverb until it sounds like it's about like this. And then the reverb but it naturally sounds like this, even though your original signal sounds like this. And there's all kinds of crazy effects you can do between, here, I'll show you. Check it. Reverb. Crazy, right? And that's not even like all of it. Then you can just go to this right here. This is a chorus. This is kind of like what they used on Morgan Freeman when he was doing Batman's dirty work through the eyes of Batman. Look on floor 4. You have 3 bad guys coming up. I see them, Alfred. I'm Batman. I will say that about one thing about the Justice League version. The Ben Affleck version. It was good for them to get Jeremy Irons to take the mask and then put the voice box right here and like test it and like, but then he takes it, it's like testing. Yeah, it's working. Instead of the guy, come on, what do you want to do? You know what I mean? And swear to me. Yeah. I mean, you can do it that way. Sure. Or you can just go testing. Okay, that explains why the strap is down there and that makes the voice sound like why his voice sounds like this. Even though he's not doing that. And when he takes it off, he just sounds like this. Because he's just talking normal. You just can't hear it because of the filter. It makes a lot more sense. Especially a billionaire trying to hide his identity. It probably would do something like, this cannot stand, you must stop now. You know what I mean? So that way it doesn't sound like his voice at all. He's trying to run it through any vocal processing to find out whose voice it is underneath. One scrambles it so it doesn't sound like this. Even this is my voice with that rain effect, and then this is with the other effect on there. It'd be more intimidating. People would be like, what the fuck? How do you make your voice? What? Why does your voice sound? I mean, especially if it doesn't look like there's like a box or anything on there. It just looks. Hello. I guess you're gonna try to rob this bank today. No, Mr. Batman. I just wanted to see you, Mr. Batman. Louis C.K. fans? No, nothing. So, yeah. So that's how I mix. And then after I do that, each one has a submix, an auxiliary that they send to. What I'll do then is I'll mute all those tracks. Like the bass has its own aux end, the drums has its own aux end, the guitars have their own aux end, the vocals have their own aux end with effects on them. The other one just had enough to get it. So I have a dry mix with no reverb or nothing like that besides the room reverb on the drums type thing, right? Just a dry mix that is mixed well. The sub mix has all the effects, like the bass has the enhancer, the boom, like the really bass enhancer to really bring up the bass. The drums have the clarification of a lot of stuff, you know what I mean, and without going too shrill with the cymbals is my goal. The guitars have more of that in them rather than just, you know what I mean, being kind of dull. They have a bit more shine to them and a lot less bottom end to them. This is a reinforcement track, so you want to have much more bright end to it. So if there is too much low end in your regular track, this sets a layer of sheen on top of your low end. So you keep your low end. This is just a cap of high end that makes it sound cleaner and sounds and it reinforces the original sound. Same with the bass. The bass is a bit lower in bass. The drums have a bit more punch and more accent because you run through another compressor, another EQ, cut all the low frequencies between below 48 and stuff like that. On and on. The vocals actually have the delay, reverb, and all the other stuff to the point where it's a bit too much. And that's why you bring them in and mix them in so that it's not, you hear it, whatever. Once you get I make a sub mix. I bring the drums in, then I bring the bass in, so it's the same kind of. I do the exact same step of setting and balancing, make sure everything sounds about right, even though it's got the extra effects on there of extra bass. But I still want to cut through. If I have to adjust the sends of how much the low end goes through, I adjust how much low end goes in, so that way it still has that boom, but it's not just all boom. You know what I mean? It's mixed, and the high end still comes through and everything. Then I go to the guitars, bring those up until they just sit there and they accent. You can hear them in the background without being drowning out, just like I did the first time. I want to be able to hear them, but I don't want to power them at all. The reason why is I'm using a bus compressor and other things to level that out. And when I do, those things are just going to naturally just elevate themselves up and out of the mix. If I mix them correctly, they're just going to naturally inflate up and out. If I already have them bumped, and the thing, if it's not loud enough, I still have room to play with it, don't I? But right now, they're just barely kind of move. They're like the knob is about halfway, and it's still competing well in the mix with the bass because there's nothing to compete with, right? Because those frequencies, if you did it right, those are open for the guitar, so it sounds clear and comes through. So there's no real competition there. And then you just, like I said, when you start to pump up the mix of it, you can go ahead and bring in the original mix, you get the vocals, like I said, dancing around with a lot of ear candy on them. Chorus, delay, reverb and shit. And I have so many that I can just choose so many different kinds. Abbey Roads, so many. It's ridiculous, dude. It's really ridiculous. I can make it recorded in vocal booths, like at the vocal booth in Muscle Shoals, the vocal booth, just around different places. It's nuts. And so, yeah, it's just really fun to play with all that stuff and the virtuality, the possibilities. That's why I pre-production to find out what kind of things I want to do, where, how I want them to go, before I actually hit record on the main actual real track. So when I go to record the main track, I already know how I've already pre-production the song enough to know the intro is going to fade in and be spacey, and then it's going to hit hard, and then it's going to kind of dip down for the verse, for the chorus, and it's going to dip down. For the verse, it's going to go explode for the chorus. It's going to get to a break that's kind of evil, and then it's going to go back to the fucking, it's going to even go back to the fucking chorus. We're going to go out into another spacey outro that kind of blah, 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 and should blend nicely into the next song, but it should be fading out completely right as the next song comes in. I've got it orchestrated. I already know I know when the flange is going to kick in for the, the solo. I know when the phaser is going to kick in. I know when the delay, what the tempo of the delay is going to be, since I know the tempo of the song. I know exactly how all the stuff's going to be. I've already mapped it out. Now I've got to nail it down perfect. See, that's the time to scratch out. You come back and listen, okay, my drumming is sloppy, but I barely knew the song then. But this gives me a chance, like I said, that dopamine hit. I can listen to the song and go, I like it, but I'm not playing well enough. And so that drives you to go, I've got to learn these parts. I got to learn these parts. I got to learn the parts. I got to learn the transitions. It's always right there at that one. I always forget to do the. I always forget to do that. I always go. It's a. And so you just work on it. And you keep playing with it and playing around with it. And things start evolving. The drum fills start evolving to you. You're still improvising as you go, but what you improvise, you have a bit more of a sculpted idea. You know what I mean? That kind of shit. You've envisioned that's going to be not just like the end of a, well, it's going to be a bit longer. It was like it's not going to be just a. You think those things out already, and so like I said, when you go to hit record, most of it's already mapped out. You're just ready to fucking do it. And then if you're doing dry track like I'm doing with like, I mean, the drums, those drums can then be, that performance could be any kind of set of drums. The bass can be any bass amp, any bass setup whatsoever. The guitars, I have like Pod Farm Platinum. I have a Revolver. I have a Revolver producer. I have amp locker with almost everything there. I mean, just on and on. Amplitude 5 in almost every expansion. I mean, it's really perverse, man. I don't need any plugins. On top of that, I'm signed up with the Plugin Alliance thing, and they have like a crap ton of amps, a crap ton of great amps that are just, you can, once you're a part of the member, you get like a member of the subscription, you get access to like all the plugins, all of them, as long as you're paying your subscription. No, I'm telling you, I'm paying my fucking subscription as long as I can fucking do it. And you get 3 free per year. Get the fuck out of here. I'm gonna keep it forever. Once I get maybe like 6 or 7, the ones that I use, I mean like maybe like 9, the ones I use like all the time, because I already owned a crap ton of them already. But they keep coming up with new ones and better ones and cooler ones and awesome ones like the Trinity Shaper. That's how I started learning and fucking around with transients. I know I'd seen the Trinity Shaper and it looked really cool. I didn't know what a fucking. I still didn't grasp what a transient shaper was. And so I had, like I said, BFD routing out to different tracks, because all the drums can be routed out to their own little track in the DAW, so you can put whatever you want. So I was like, you know what? I mean, I've seen people talk about transient shapers with the snare and with the kick. I looked into the thing. There's a preset for kick and there's a preset for snare. I don't know what this do. Let me see what it does. And like I said, I have not been able to get the BFD to, snap. Or the kick drum to just like hammer. Oh, they hammered. The kick drum hammered and the snare snapped. And I was like, I must understand transients now. I must understand them, what's going on, because I've never been able to get BFD to crack like that. And and now that I know I can get all the snares to crack like that, shit. Dude, like I said, there were so many snares that I passed over because I didn't have that quite the same pop. Hell, some of the ones that don't even have the snare on the bottom, I can still get the pop the right way. I mean, it's just still, the I can get the it's sick, dude. It's really, really good. That's the one thing I've been feeling my songs have missed, is that fucking that whip of the snare drum. But I got it. And also, like I said, the thunder punch of the kick drum. I got both of those now. I know how to do that shit. I also know how to compress things correctly now. So I got that shit. So keeping controls, the dynamics is easier. And now I know a lot more about EQing. I'm ready, man. I'm ready to start doing this. And Troth has that 4-song EP coming up soon. We've got 3 songs done. 1 song already out of pre-production into actual production and done. That one's called If At All. I really wish you could play it, man. It's so good. But then there's Drown Me. We just finished Drown Me the other day. And that one was fun. That one was really fun. And then there was Did I Dream, which I don't know if I'm going to keep the name on that one, but that's what it's called right now. And like I said, I blew my voice out singing the chorus. And it took a long time with the smoking to get back. Once I started eating pot again, which I've started doing again, and I'm out now, so I got to mix more oil. I'll be doing that either today or tomorrow, but probably tomorrow. I'm getting tired and about ready to go to sleep. So the bottle of my air, my breath and throat's been getting better. So smoking has been getting it back to being bad again. So I gotta quit that out and get some more oil going quickly. And then once I get that done and get like my voice back, whatever, I was like, oh, once I get my voice back, I'll lay the lyrics to Did I Dream. I just really don't want to go ahead and push my voice too hard right now, especially as close as it is to being like, completely blown. I don't want to do some permanent damage. And so I kept putting it off and putting it off, and that's why I got done with what the fuck. Drown Me. The reason I got finished with Drown Me so fast is because I felt bad that I'd been waiting so long. We were pretty well done on Did I Dream. It's just waiting on me to do the vocals, the main vocals, and I didn't really have anything, and nothing was really coming, and my voice was not where I could practice. And then so I started doing it's a lot easier song, Drown Me. We didn't have that screaming in it. And so I got done with that, and I was kind of riding a high of getting that done. And so I decided to give Did I Dream a listen. And lyrics just started coming to me. I was like, oh, shit, yeah. And on top of that, I'm not screaming this one. So that way it makes the chorus come in like, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to sound even better. So, yeah. I love that we swap up duties on who takes the lead guitar. It's so fucking cool. And I can't wait till we start swapping duties on who's singing lead also. That's going to be fucking cool as shit also. Because, yeah, that's what gives the band a lot more longevity, you know? When, you know, the singers can swap. Paul can swap off with John. Yeah, man. It's going to be sicko. Sicko, 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 sicko. So sicko, so sicko, so very sicko, sicko, so sicko, so very sicko. Cheech and Chong, nobody, no, why am I always up by myself here? So I want to show you a couple of my, let me make sure here real quick. Okay, so let's go and check out a few things here. So I'm thinking about getting some guitars. Mike and I were talking about like each new Troth album, try and get some new gear, and that way we're constantly keeping. We were talking about how we both agree that getting a new instrument just makes you approach the whole thing differently. The way the instrument looks, the way the instrument sounds, it just draws out a whole new personality of you. And that's why there's so many instruments, is because each one inspires you to think in a different way. Because the sound, because the shape, because the look, whatever. If one's got more of a jazzy look, when you go to play it, even if you're going to go play metal, it's going to be a bit more jazzy. You know what I mean? And so everything else will be more jazzy sounding. So let's go ahead and take a quick little look here. We got the U-tubs. And this would be my, oh, no, not you. Edit, undo. There we go. Now move this guy out of the way. You know, let's make you a little bit smaller here. I don't need to see my stupid face anyways. So this is my Equinox hollow body. I really want to get this done, and I've got it designed, and I've got it pulled up at the factory. My agent has the specs and stuff, and we're going to possibly put it together, but I got to come up with a little bit more cash before I can do that. So, next, this is the Venture. Crap. So to me, I think it's a nice blend of future and vintage, and thus the venture. Um, so I like the way the cutaway right here. I love how it pairs with this one, how it kind of swoops down. I just love that shape and how it comes up like that, and how this one comes up and cuts in back there. I would like to get this in arch top. A customer got one from Puerto Rico. It looked dope. He got one. Let's see if I can find. I've got like the actual pictures around here somewhere of his version, but it was, yeah. I love this one too. The short Equinox VNT shorthorn. It looks kind of vintagey, P90, and it has like I said, the shorthorn. So that's what the SH, the 22 VNT. Actually, I think that's the name. I think it's the 22. And the VNT is the model because the VNT has that slant in the back. Oh no. There we go. Okay, I think we might be out of those. Let's see. Are there any more? Oh, a bunch of dick pics. Yeah, if you get a chance, go check out my video. Check out my dick pic video. This is pretty cool because I can, yeah. Let's take a look at that. You see that? This is Zunia. I drew this for my story. Now, can we zoom in or what? Okay, there we go. So the story starts here in Morrington and goes all over. This whole place is Zunia. So that's Argus. That's the biggest human city in Unia. These are, the maws are, they were originally rivers about the width of the Congo or the Nile, about 20, 30 miles wide. And then the events of the first era happened and caused the splitting of this right here. This was a river and it split. This was a river and it became 60 miles wide now. Same with this one. This one was already the twice great maw. This was the Great North River. And when it split, it was still the biggest maw, so it's the twice great. This is Jessel. The plains here, they got like a lot. This is the home to the citadels of Jessel. There's a lot of money in this area as well as a lot of like plains creatures and things like that. This is Bethran, the home of the current home of the dwarves, and Weston, Mournful Mount, the Inland Sea. Of course, that's where almost all the fresh water comes from and drains down the maws out into the oceans out here. The Norfolk region, and their capital, Milta. There's Burl, and this is the continent Burl, and there's Burl, the main city on the Resin Isles. That's where the pirates live. Creed is where the elves hang out. Hearthglow is where the high elves, or the Dane, and the Therawil is where the wood elves, or the Teln, live. The Underwoods is where Shinamazine. There's a whole story I'm working on. The next book I'm working on is called The Underwoods, and it tells Shinamazine's story. So yeah, Vajra is another city of elves, the Teln, and eventually is overrun by humans. The whole area, like the hunting grounds, are getting run in by. Although these towns are listed here, like Morrington and Torgans Cove. He says in the story that there's hundreds of these types of towns. If you're not from there, those little small little shit towns. If you're not from there, you'll have never heard of them. If this tells you anything, his entire town up to is like from like 7 years old to 8 years, 6 or 7 years old to fucking almost 18 was spent in this little hick town by this little pond. See the size of that? It's basically the whole thing. The whole city would fit like right around here on the lake. It's not very big at all. Compare that to the A in Argus. That dot and that little sliver, you could fit that in the A right there. Argus is this is a 7 day trip from here to Argus's gates. It's another 7 day trip from here to cross all of Argus. You gotta consider if this is 60 miles wide, how fucking wide is Argus? That's gotta be, you know what I mean? It's huge. It's an enormous city. And then out here, we have Galen, younger brother of Galton. Galton wanted to be the Argus of the West, so he started going out here. And Galen said, "Why don't we just settle here and use the branching to ease the gapping?" Galton's like, "No. Argus is on the coast. I want to be on the east coast. I want to be on the west coast." And so this boundless depths are salt water. So they had to go back. They thought they went back far enough, but they didn't. They should have gone back about here, and that would have been enough to get them there. But now they're basically kind of in around the salt water, and when the wind blows in and stuff, it just kind of crusts up the everything. So it's just not a good thing for them. Had they taken Galen, like Galen's city, the city of Galen is in beautiful weather nearly year round. It's like a vacation. It's a 22 mile by 33 mile island. So it's 22 miles wide by 33 miles long, and it sits here in the mall, as you can see, without any problem. 22 miles wide by 33 miles long. And yeah, there's still plenty of room on either side. But yeah, that's Wint, the continent of Wint. Over here you have the Bennell River Complex, and that's where the little people, the halflings live there. The Twin Waters, this is more where, like, you know, humans and things like that live. The Dremna Sea, because this is far shore where orcs come from. And almost all, like, pretty much dirty, unclean things are kind of drawn to far shore. And the goblins live there, the orcs live there. But when the orcs are civilized and cross over, they call them Dremna because they play by the rules. They dress normal. They dress like humans and stuff, and they like human society. They get along with humans just fine. The more, like I said in the book, it says if you see a orc that's dressed for dinner, Dremna. You see a orc dressed for war, orc. So in Vorgan's Bog, I think I pulled it up. I didn't really show it here. So this is where the Vorgan's men, also known as the Baul, Baul, they live here. They're 6 foot tall lizard men that walk upright like humans. They have poison bites. Their skins are like naturally scaly armor, but they still sometimes wear armor anyways, just to kind of fit in with the humans and stuff. Because they have a forked tongue, it's hard for them to speak Unaic easily. Unaic was chosen because it's one of the easiest languages to speak, kind of like English is, and it's just used as the proto-language for everything. And then so they need some words from the different races and stuff. So there's Proto-Unaic, and then the humans consider that the true Unaic, and then other people are like, dude, it's evolving to include all of us. So no. Yeah, it started out with the basic vocabulary. You don't have a word for our festival of, you know what I mean? So now we have to make a word for that because, you know, or at least incorporate it in. So, yeah. Probably don't need to smoke anymore, but I'm gonna. I really like telling stories. I'm about ready to get back to writing. I should probably finish the last song for Troth. No, I mean, I don't. I shouldn't say I should finish, but I should start working on not today, not tomorrow. Today's a Sabbath, and tomorrow's a Sabbath, so I'm just gonna rest and take it easy. Matter of fact, I'm probably gonna pass out for too long, probably in this bowl. But fucking, hang on. I'm on the wrong screen. That's why it wouldn't work. I always get confused when I'm doing that. So there we go. I want to write, but I've been having a lot of really good ideas for my book, The Keep Christarian. And I think The Keep Christarian is going to be the best thing I've ever written. Like, my best I've ever done. Plain and simple. So I'm putting it off as long as possible because I don't want to lead with that because an expectation is and it'll always be down. I would really like to release The Robber and the Thief to hopefully, at least people. Hang on. People liking it. I would love for people to love it, but I mean, also for people liking it. There we go. That's close enough. I also for people liking it and then wanting to know what's coming next. And I'm completely fine with releasing The Underwoods, which is it's a more of a cerebral book than it will be an entertaining book. There'll be action, there'll be stuff that's going on inside of it, but it definitely won't be The Robber and the Thief. It's just telling it's kind of an artsy kind of book in the sense that the first part is taken from Sheena's journals about his youth up until about the age of 18 when he's exiled from Vaja and for being a half breed, and so is his dad. They agreed when he was born to raise him to 18, and after that, he and his dad had to get the fuck out. And his dad was on the higher council, so he thought he could at least get away with it, or whatever, at least it wouldn't come down as hard on him, but they did. And especially since he was in the senior council, they had to make an example that they're not above the law. And so they exiled both of them to be, they can't come back to Vaja, but we're not heartless. We gift you the Underwoods. And the Underwoods is known for being this indestructible wood known as earthen, Urthen, earthenwood. It's kind of a black, polishy glass, kind of is a barkless tree. The leaves are like an iridescent purple, and they're very hard to destroy. They don't burn. The tree does not burn. The wood doesn't burn. It does not chop. You cannot chop it. It's basically kind of like the briar patch to go in there and die. Basically, is what they're telling him. But Shuna had been having visions already, and on top of that, he remembered a story. He had a vision of them being exiled, and he remembered a story from his youth about this dwarven king named Tolbor, who had this unbreakable axe called Temra, and so they're trying to find some way to where they're supposed to go. They go and stay by the one, then because they're exiled, they have nowhere else to go, so they go to the Underwoods, and they're looking outside, and they're trying to figure out something to do to make a home out of this place or something, home nearby, because there's hunting grounds all around it, which means what the fuck are you doing here? If you can get inside the Underwoods, you're fine because nobody can get into you. So it starts out like a thicket, and then behind the thicket is smaller trees, and then the further you go in, there's like the big thick kind of like big thick trees, like the redwood style trees you can drive a car through. And then there's a good 20 of those to make it to the core. city. They hollowed them out, and make rooms on the inside of them, and there's like different levels and floors and stuff to go through. So they get Temra. In the process, they prove that the legends are true. He was a king. He had this axe for real. It is unbreakable, but it also belongs to the dragon that's claimed the mountain. Because you have, let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Tulak Mimna, or the Hollow Mountain. This was being built for a long time. Talbot was, that's his name, is not a Tolbor. They go to talk to some dwarves. They leave from, they're banished from Vajra, they go to the Underwoods. Then they have to go to Bethrin in the Bethril Mountains and talk to dwarves and see if the legend is even true. And the guy there is like, yeah, it's true, but I mean, you're centuries late, dude. That's an old story. And if there's any treasure in that, in the Bethril Mountain, in the Butriel Mountains, that's what this was originally called, the Butriels. And it turns out that the Northic people of Milza were doing business with them, and they're named Butriv, which they named the Butriel Mountains, means home within the hills, whereas the Northic people had a word, Bethrin, which means home amongst the hills. But these guys built inside, so it's home within the hills. So Butriev was here in the Butriel Mountains, but they started doing business with these guys. So when they started a new one, they needed to separate it from the Butriev. This was Butriev instead of Bethrin, and the Butriev Mountains. And now these are the Bethril Mountains, and this is Bethrin, which means home amongst the hills. It's about basically the same thing. And there's a lot of cross pollination between the Northic people and the dwarves. So the the dwarvish women, the men like the fact that they're very independent, strong, and whatever. And the dwarvish women like the fact that the men are not as brutish or as strong or mean. You know what I mean? So it works out. A lot of these girls will outdrink the guys, outfight the guys. You know what I mean? And they'll cut down more trees than the guy. Yeah, I mean they're dwarves. They're female dwarves. They're just badasses. Whereas the male dwarves like the soft femininity of the female humans, and they like the rugged roughness of these these dwarves. So it worked out. So there's a lot of stuff that's trade in common, like this area here with the Tessel Forest between the Marprin Mountains and the Tulak Mimna. This is called the Drala Valley, and it's called the Drala because it's DraughLaugh, and so depending on if you're Northic, it's Drolif. If you are, if you're using the dwarvish version, it would be the Dralo, and because they both have a AUGH, and AUGH in the Northic is Uff, and whatever, so they go by Dralo, and there's no connection to any person. They can't find any person with the name of Dralo, and they can't find any word in either language that would be Draloff or Dralo that would give them a reason to understand which one it is. And so rather than fight about it, it's just, some people call it the Drala Valley and some people call it the Drala, and they don't care because they're they are friends, the Northic people and the dwarves. And so some of them, a lot of people in the Slayus area and Portune area are half dwarf. or, full dwarf or some version of thereof. It's completely normal. They share a lot of common ideas and like hard work and things like that. Um, yeah, so there's Burl and B-roll. These guys helped to build Argus. So in the first era, Argus was much, much smaller. Again, this was only 30 miles, and so they only crossed like, that right there. And so um, I might have the first era map. I don't know. Let me see if I have it. If I do, I'm going to back way out so you can see the two different swamp. No, that's not it. No, that's Chanticleer. Or no, that's what's in the fridge. Let's see if I can find. No. Got a Dirt Clod Fight playing in my head, man. Played some of that earlier, Isolated. Such a good song. I feel so isolated. Come on now. There's me. There's Rubber and the Thief. The book. There's Trough. CD. Map of Unia, Second Era. No, just both of them are Map of Unia, Second Era. Okay, so I was hoping I've got one of the first area. I'll bring it up sometime, but you can actually see like how the swapping between the two, how the continents drifted. This one completely turned. These Russian Isles were much closer. These were tighter in because there was only like again, and so when it did, they were actually further back this way, and when it opened up, it gave it kind of slid in. This drifted away, Far Shore drifted away, and Went drifted way away. As you can see, there was close. There was just more like a river between here, and it just ripped it and pulled it over there. Um, so I really like the story, and I love how it's got so much possibility to go so many places and do so much stuff, and I love how the audiobook that I did follows this. It follows along the map. Like when they're talking about Morrington, it's like he zooms in and he'll be out here and like zooming around, and while he's talking, and you see like a little bit of the stuff that's outside of Morrington, and then they go to Argus, and then it just does, it basically where the story's happening, like and this would be near dock, and then this would be far dock, and this is mid dock, but a lot of people don't really call it that. It's just near dock and far dock, and our narrator hangs out in near dock. Far dock is more new, more glitzy, more expensive, and he hates it. So yeah, but it is possibly 407. I don't know if it really is or not, but I've been at this for 2 hours and 22 minutes, and I love the number two, and I love the number 22. So let's go ahead and get out of here. Thank you for everybody that's been watching. Sorry if this was boring. I just like talking. I was hoping that somebody would want to get in there and talk about stuff about like compression or anything really, but apparently nobody does, and that's fine. I got to talk a bit, and that makes me a better person in reality, because like here no one's watching this, and I just talk for hours and hours to the point where I'm starting to get sick of my own voice. So when I'm hanging around people, I don't talk anywhere near as much as I used to, because when I'm out here by myself, and so I'm going crazy just like talking to myself, and so I get around somebody, it's just diarrhea of the face, as I have like because I haven't talked to nobody in days, if not weeks. No one. I type to people, but I don't actually have like a conversation with anybody. Like, hey, how you doing? Good, how are you? And then like back and forth and talk. Don't happen for long periods of time. So these, I just go on and just ramble and ramble and ramble, and I get a lot of my talking and the stuff that I really can't talk to a lot of people about this stuff anyways, because a lot of people do not want to hear about politics. A lot of people do not want to hear about God. A lot of people do not want to hear about the universe. They don't want to talk about it. And the reason I talk about it is not because I feel like I know the answer. I feel like I have a good idea, and I would love for someone to go, that would explain the blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what's that? I've never heard of that. You've never heard of, no. Okay, there's a theory by this guy. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, I need to look into that. You know what I mean? Yeah, definitely look into that, man. And it might complete some ideas for me. Or they might be go, well, basically, here's what it says, and this is why you're kind of close, but you're also wrong. I'm all ears. What's going on? I'm not like, fuck you. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about. I know that I have some ideas about stuff. I know that my ideas are kind of supported by Chris Langan's work. He has a 200 IQ, cognitive theoretical model of the universe. It basically backs up everything that I was saying to the point, and I'll point it out again. They said if you don't understand, Einstein said if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it. Well, this is my theory of everything. Absolutely everything. It doesn't get more simple than that. It's a fucking, not even a full, what it's called, index card. It tells everything. It tells how we got here, where we're going, and I can explain it all. I know you can't tell it all from just by looking at it unless you have a very keen mind. But this is how simple my idea is, that I can sum it up this easily. Now, the crazy thing is, I was watching a video about Chris Langan and his CMTU, Cognitive Theory, CTMU. And they were going through different stuff. And there was a picture on the screen, and it had like a circle, and it had two hexagons sitting next to each other with an arrow from one going into the other. In that hexagon, it had a dot that was off center, and it had arrows not coming from the top like that. It had arrows coming from the side. Over there, where I have the yin yang, it was an eyeball, and the other difference was that right there. These, instead of being circles or ovals, were hexagons. And they even had, over here to where this is off center, even had a dot that was off center sitting over here like this. This over here was just an observer, the conscious observer of everything, of universe, basically God watching. This circle around the outside, he was saying, was the binding will, the will of God, because the universe has no constraints. It can do whatever it wants to. So the only thing that could constrain it would be outside of itself. The only thing that could be outside of itself would be God. And those only constraints it would be constraints he himself put on, that he himself must adhere to. Now, he doesn't necessarily have to, but he can make it where he does. And it's like, look, even I live by it. And even it's not that I don't like it, but it works. It needs to be. And even I follow by the rule. If you can't follow by it, you can't say it can't be done, because even I follow the fucking rule. Definitely not my favorite one, but even I follow the fucking rule. But yeah, so we're now at 2 hours and 27 minutes, and I'm even more stoned and more tired, so grumbling the tumbling. I'm gonna go have some food and watch some TV or something. Maybe I'll listen to The Robber and the Thief again. You guys have a great Saturday. Make it a good one. You don't know how much time we have left. We may not have much time left at all. I really hope we don't. I hope I'm right, and I hope it's coming very, very, very soon, because I'm fucking sick of being around here. Maybe hopefully by the time I finish my 2 pounds of chocolate, that'd be like a good, week or so from now. Yeah, I'm good with that. Let's get the fuck out of here. Check out the Hotel California once and for all. Peace. Even though there is no peace anywhere. Spread peace if you can. Make peace. Don't make love. Make peace.